Hello, I'm Essay, your AI essayist. Please note that all content, audio and video in this presentation are AI generated. As AI can sometimes produce inaccuracies, I encourage you to verify any factual information presented. With that in mind, let's begin.
In 1843, John Stuart Mill published a work of monumental ambition, a text that sought to define the very architecture of knowledge for a new scientific era. His book, titled A System of Logic, Ratiocinative and Inductive, represented a profound attempt to construct a complete secular epistemology. It was conceived as a logic of truth, a methodical guide for discovering how the world operates, intended to supplant the ancient logic of consistency inherited from scholasticism. Mill confronted the towering philosophical challenge left by David Hume, the problem of induction. Accepting Hume's premise that all genuine knowledge originates in experience, Mill aimed to codify the principles through which reliable causal inferences could be drawn from observation. His project was a direct counterpoint to the intuitionist school, championed by contemporaries like William Whewell, which held that certain truths were grasped by direct faculty of the mind. Mill's system proposed that a rigorous, empirical methodology could provide the bedrock for all human certainty. To erect this intellectual edifice, Mill first required firm, conceptual tools. In the initial books of his system, he meticulously lays out his theory of language, focusing on the function of names and propositions. He introduces a seminal distinction between the denotation of a term and its connotation. The denotation comprises the set of all things to which the name applies. The connotation, in contrast, consists of the attributes the name implies. For example, the name human denotes all individual human beings, while its connotation includes attributes like rationality and mortality. This analytical separation of a word's reference from its meaning provided Mill with a powerful instrument for clarifying thought and became a crucial forerunner to Gottlob Frege's later, more formalized distinction between reference and sense. Mill saw this clarification of language as the essential preliminary step before tackling the more complex business of real-world inference. The true heart of the system of logic resides in its third book, where Mill unveils his 5 celebrated methods of experimental inquiry. These canons were designed as the formal machinery for identifying causal relationships from a complex web of empirical data. The first, the method of agreement, states that if multiple instances of a phenomenon share only a single circumstance, that common circumstance is likely its cause or effect. The second, the method of difference, is the very soul of the modern controlled experiment. It posits that if an instance where a phenomenon occurs and one where it is absent differ only by one factor, that factor is causally connected to the phenomenon. This principle provides the logical justification for isolating a single variable to test its impact. Mill then presents the joint method of agreement and difference, a more robust procedure that combines the logic of the first two. It strengthens an inference by showing both that the presence of a factor accompanies the phenomenon and that its absence accompanies the phenomenon's absence, which is particularly useful in observational settings where perfect control is unachievable. Fourth is the method of residues, an elegant tool of discovery. It instructs the investigator to subtract from any phenomenon the parts already explained by known causes. The remaining portion, the residue, must be the effect of some other, as yet unknown, antecedent. The discovery of the planet Neptune, inferred from residual perturbations in the orbit of Uranus, stands as a classic illustration of this method's power. Finally, the method of concomitant variations addresses quantitative relationships. It holds that whenever one phenomenon varies in a particular way, as another phenomenon varies, a causal connection exists between them. This method enables the move from simple causal identification to the formulation of precise mathematical laws, such as the relationship between the volume and pressure of This grand systematization of inductive reasoning drew from a deep well of intellectual precedents. Mill was consciously building upon the aspirational project of Francis Bacon's Novum Organum, which had called for a new logic centered on empirical investigation over sterile syllogism. He was profoundly shaped by David Hume's empiricism. Mill accepted Hume's diagnosis of the problem of induction while refusing his skeptical conclusion. Instead, he sought to build a robust framework for justifiable belief on that very empirical ground. The influence of Auguste Comte's positivism is also apparent, particularly in the system's unwavering focus on discovering the invariant laws of succession that govern phenomena. Mill's work was the ultimate expression of this empiricist and positivist spirit, an attempt to demonstrate that science possessed a logic as rigorous as mathematics. Ultimately, Mill extended his empiricist program to its most radical conclusion. He argued that all knowledge, without exception, is derived from experience. This included the seemingly unshakable truths of geometry and arithmetic. In Mill's view, the axiom that 2 + 2 = 4 is an extraordinarily well-confirmed generalization, rooted in countless observations of physical objects being combined. The principle that two straight lines cannot enclose a space was for him an inductive truth, derived from our universal and uncontradicted experience of the physical world. This provocative claim, that the foundations of mathematics were themselves empirical, positioned his system of logic as the ultimate statement of empiricism, a framework that aimed to encompass the entirety of human knowledge within the bounds of observable reality. John Stuart Mill's 1843 A System of Logic, a monumental work in philosophy, extended empiricism to its most radical conclusion: all knowledge stems from experience, including seemingly self-evident mathematical truths. Mill posited that axioms like 2 + 2 = 4 are highly confirmed generalizations, born from countless observations of combining objects. Similarly, geometric principles, such as two straight lines failing to enclose space, were inductive truths derived from consistent sensory experience. This audacious assertion, placing the foundations of mathematics within the empirical realm, made a system of logic a definitive expression of empiricism, aiming to unify all human knowledge under observable reality. This radical empiricism, however, proved vulnerable. Gottlob Frege, in his Grundlagen der Arithmetik, the Foundations of Arithmetic, directly challenged Mill's psychologism. Frege demonstrated that arithmetic's truths are analytic a priori, meaning they are true by definition and independent of empirical verification. His rigorous logical analysis fundamentally undermined Mill's assertion that mathematical axioms are empirical generalizations. Frege's work exposed a fundamental flaw in Mill's system, showcasing the limitations of grounding all knowledge solely in sensory experience. Beyond its central thesis, Mill's system of logic presented a detailed methodology for inductive reasoning, outlining 5 methods: agreement, difference, joint method, residues, and concomitant variations. These methods provided a framework for establishing causal relationships through observation and comparison. The method of difference, for example, forms the logical basis of the randomized controlled trial, a cornerstone of modern experimental design. However, Mill's methods possess limitations. They struggle with probabilistic causation, where effects are not deterministic consequences of causes. They face challenges in disentangling interaction effects, scenarios where multiple factors combine to produce an outcome. Further, they are susceptible to the Duhem-Quine problem, where it is difficult to isolate single hypotheses for testing. Despite these shortcomings, Mill's system remains conceptually vital to modern experimentation. The immediate impact of Mill's system of logic was profound. It swiftly gained canonical status at Oxford and Cambridge, shaping generations of British thinkers. Its influence extended far beyond philosophy. Logical positivism, a movement arising from the Vienna Circle, inherited Mill's empiricist ambition yet rejected his psychologism, favouring formal logic in defining empirical knowledge. This shift reflects the evolution of scientific thinking away from purely observational accounts towards mathematically rigorous frameworks. Furthermore, Mill's comparative methods found fertile ground in the nascent social sciences. Emil Durkheim, in his The Rules of Sociological Method, adapted Mill's techniques to sociological inquiry. His comparative studies of suicide rates across different societies, comparing social factors and suicide prevalence, demonstrated the direct application of Mill's methodology outside the natural sciences, solidifying its enduring influence. In conclusion, a system of logic stands not as a flawless or complete system, but as a monumental attempt to ground all knowledge in experience. Its ambitious scope, its meticulous methodology, and its ultimate weaknesses defined central problems in the philosophy of science and social science methodology for a century following its publication. Mill's work remains a critical landmark, its influence echoing powerfully in the ongoing dialogue concerning knowledge acquisition and scientific method. The relentless pursuit to establish a rigorous methodology for empirical inquiry, exemplified by Mill's work, remains a pivotal feature in the evolution of scientific thought, even in the face of its inherent limitations. The very ambition of his system, its successes and its failures became a blueprint for future scientific endeavors.
We really appreciate you tuning in to this AI-powered presentation. Our goal is to push the boundaries of AI in content creation, and your input is invaluable. If there's a particular subject you'd like to see us tackle next, or if you have suggestions on how we could fine-tune our AI's creative prompts, please don't hesitate to leave your ideas in the comments section. We're excited to bring you more unique content very soon.